Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to study another disease, that is the Paget's disease. Now moving to the introduction, what is Paget's disease also known as? Okay, this can come as an MCQ question also. The other name of Paget's disease is osteitis deformans. Why do we say this osteitis deformans? Because the word osteitis here means bones and deformans means deformity. So altogether this is a bony deformity. The bone deformation takes place in this disease. So it is also said as osteitis deformans. If we come to the definition of this disease, it is a common disorder which is characterized by excessive and abnormal remodeling of the bone, which is going to give us a vascularized, weak and enlarged deformed bone. Okay, now let me simplify this a bit for you. If I tell you that we have two kind of cells in our body, you must be knowing this already. We have two cells in our body, that is the osteoclast and the osteoblast. Osteoblast cells are the one which are responsible for forming the bone. Osteoclast are the one which are useful, or you can say responsible for destroying or resorbing the bone. Okay, so in normal conditions, both of these cells in our body are having a simultaneous function. That means the bone is forming as well as it is resorbing also, so that a balance is being created. But what happened in the Paget's disease? That firstly, either the osteoclast are very active, that means the bone will continuously resorb, and the osteoblasts are not that active. So what will happen? Bone is not forming, but it is continuously being resorbed. In other conditions, what can happen is that your osteoblasts are very active and the osteoclasts are not active. Now what will happen? The bone is forming continuously, but it is not resorbing, and hence we will get a very thick bone. So this condition is not being balanced, and this is what happens in the osteitis deformans. Moving ahead to the etiology. Now what can be the causes of this disease? Maybe any hereditary or genetic link, which means maybe anyone in the family tree, in the family history was having this kind of disease, and so it was passed on to the future progeny also. Okay. Another thing that can be is viral infection. Any viral infection can also cause this disease. Maybe there was any inflammatory reaction or process that happened, can also be one of the etiological factor. Coming to the autoimmune disorder, connective tissue disorder and some vascular disease or disorders can also be a etiological factor. Coming to the pathogenesis, how is this whole happening? So if you see, we have divided this whole process of osteitis deformans into three phases. The lytic phase, the mixed phase and the burned out phase. So in the lytic phase, what is happening is there is a continuous resorption. The resorption of the bone, that is the destroying of the bone, is being enhanced in this stage. Now in the mixed lytic and blastic stage, what is going to happen is there is going to be destruction of the bone also, as well as there is going to be the formation of the bone also. In the last phase, that is the sclerotic or the burned out phase, what are we going to see is there will be hyperformation of the bone, that is the woven bone, by the osteoblast. So what do you see here? We had three stages. One was lytic stage, mixed lytic and blastic stage, and the sclerotic or the burned out stage. In the lytic phase, there was resorption which was happening continuously. In the second phase, we had both formation and resorption of the bone which was happening simultaneously. Then we had sclerotic or the burned out phase, in which there was basically excess formation of the bone which took place. Moving ahead to the clinical features. So if a patient comes to you with the osteitis deformans, how you are going to diagnose that person? He is going to be either middle-aged or elderly people. No child or adulthood person is going to be affected. Now if you see towards the gender predilection, it is equal in males and females. Now in which country geographically it is more commonly seen in? It has been seen in England, France, Germany and some European and African countries. Now coming to the clinical presentation, what do we see in the patient? Now most of the time your patient is going to be asymptomatic. You cannot diagnose it when you clinically see. But for example, if the patient is not asymptomatic, then what symptoms can be seen? First thing, the affected area, or I should say the bone, is going to be warm to touch. When you touch it, it will feel warm to you. Also, this is because of the increased vascularity in that particular area. Most commonly, the thing which has been involved is your skull. Okay, skull is the most commonly involved bone. If you see, there are going to be increased chances of pathologic fractures, non-specific headache, which is not going to have any particular reason. There can be tinnitus or impaired hearing which can be seen. increase in head size due to progressive enlargement. This can be seen. Now if you see in this particular figure I've shown you, this is a normal skull and this is what happened in osteitis deformans. The bone is completely enlarged and this is all about the disease. Why is this happening? Because of the bad relation of the osteoblast and the osteoclast. Coming back, if we see, I told you that the increased head size, that means the enlargement of the skull can be seen. Now change in vision will also be there because obviously the bone is getting affected. Back and neck pain can be seen as it also affects your spinal cord, and platybasia can be seen, that is the softened bone at the base of the skull leading to descent of cranium onto the cervical spine. So you can see in the bone here, this is how the deformity has taken place, and this is the bowing of long bones. It can either involve your upper limbs or the lower limbs. Now coming to the oral manifestations, orally what changes are you going to see? Jaw involvement is most commonly seen. In the oral cavity, it's just your jaw which is the bony structure. Okay, so commonly it is only involved. Now if you see the relation of involvement between the maxilla and the mandible, so maxilla is more involved in case of osteitis deformans as compared to the mandible. So what do we see? That there is going to be enlargement in the alveolar ridge. You know what is the alveolar ridge, where you have your teeth. So there is going to be enlargement of this in alveolar ridge. So usually it is this much. After enlarging, it can go to this much. Okay. Now as the alveolar ridge is being enlarged, there is going to be widening and flattening of the palate in case of maxilla. So now when the alveolar ridge is enlarged in size, obviously the palate size is also increased. Earlier it was this much, now it is this much. Okay. Now as everything is loosening up and enlarging, what is going to happen is the teeth which were there in the alveolar ridge will become loose and they can go to migrate and cause spacing, or many a times they can even get removed from the side. Okay, so mobility is also there. The tooth become very loose and they can easily fall off. Also sometimes spacing can be seen as a feature. Now findings, as I've told you, it is going to be less in case of the mandible and more in case of the maxilla. So if you see here, you can see this is how much the alveolar ridge is being enlarged. Have you ever seen an alveolar ridge like this? No, alveolar ridge is not that enlarged. Okay, so here you can see the bony enlargement which has happened. Now mouth may remain open, exposing the teeth due to lips too small or cover the enlarged jaw. So many a times you will be able to see the jaw outside only. When the patient will come to you and he's sitting in front of you, you can very easily see the jaw of the patient. Why is it so? Because the lip size is very small, okay, and the lips cannot cover this enlarged bone. So many times clinically you can see that the bony enlargement in the jaws is there. Many times jaw involvement is accompanied by the skull involvement also. So it can be a possibility that the jaw is involved or enlarged and even the skull is being enlarged. Now here in the figure you can very well see that there is broadening of the palate which has happened and enlargement of the alveolar ridge, and you can also see that the tooth have become loosened from this area. Moving ahead to the radiographic features. So if I will take a radiograph, what I will be able to see is the first stage, that is the lytic phase. Okay, now it depends on different stages what we will see. In the first stage, if the patient is coming to you, you will see deossification and softening of the bone. Now what will you see? There will be large isolated lesions on the skull, that is known as osteoporosis circumscripta. Okay, these lesions can be seen in the skull region. In the jaws, poorly defined areas of osteoporosis and due to normal or loss of normal trabeculation can be seen, because the first stage, that is the lytic stage, is all about losing. Okay, you are basically, the osteoclasts are very active in this stage, and so you are losing the bone is deforming. So everything which is seen here is going to be about losing and poor status. Now if you see here in this particular radiograph, you can see these lesions here. These are the lesions which are known as osteoporosis circumscripta. This is basically seen in the skull region in the lytic phase. This is the first phase. Moving ahead to the other features which can be seen, you will be able to see a cotton wool appearance. Okay, this is a very, very important point. That is, a cotton wool appearance is seen in the skull and the jaw. Also, you are going to see loss of well-defined lamina dura, which can be seen around the teeth, but root resorption is going to be a rare entity. Okay, so a patchy opacity will be seen in the radiograph, and that is why it is said to be that patchy opacity is said to be cotton wool appearance. So you can see here it is some opacity which is seen, otherwise it is a completely radiolucent area, but right now it is radio opaque, and this is why it feels like some cotton is being filled in the skull, and this is known as a cotton wool appearance. Here also you can see loss of lamina dura is there in the tooth, around the tooth. Now coming to the histologic features. So remember, this is very easy. The histology of the Paget's disease is very easy. You are going to see two phases, osteolytic phase and osteoblastic phase. In the osteolytic phase, your osteoclast will be very active. So you will see that there will be a unexplained resorption of the bone which is happening. Okay, and in the osteoblastic phase, you are going to see a kind of formation of the woven bone continuously, or the bone matrix. It is completely being laying on over, and a very thick bone is being formed. Now coming to the specific features which can be seen, very important again to amplify your answer, zigzag pattern and the mosaic pattern can be seen. This is a characteristic feature here. You can see the mosaic pattern all over in the radiograph, or the histological diagram. This is the hallmark of the disease. If you are not mentioning this in the histology, then your answer is not going to be amplified. Okay, so a specific mosaic appearance can be seen in the disease when you see the histology. Now how is this going to look like? This is the mosaic pattern or the zigzag pattern which can be seen. Here you can see that this is the mosaic pattern which can be continuously seen in the histology or the histological diagram. Coming to the treatment and prognosis, what can we do for treatment? Either we can give radiation therapy, hormone therapy, or the vitamins can be given. Calcitonin and parathormone antagonist can be given. And very commonly, if the treatment is not occurring and no cure is going to happen, then what you can do is you can give mitramycin also, which is also a kind of antibiotic, and it can be also given to the patient, but sometimes it has got some serious side effects. Okay, so treatment does not cure but can only control the disease. Remember that in mind. It is a bony deformity. You cannot reverse it back to normal conditions, but what we can do is we can help the disease from not getting progressive and even more complex. So that is in our hand, that we can treat the disease and control the progression of the disease, but treating it completely and curing it completely is not something in our hand. If you see to the complications, obviously the bone is becoming very weak and vascular, so there are chances of pathologic fracture. There are chances of degenerative joint disease which can happen. High output congestive cardiac failure can also be seen, and left ventricular hypertrophy is also a complication which can be seen. So this was all about the Paget's disease. It was a little lengthy video, but I hope the topic is being completely clear to you. If you have any doubts or any questions, do let me know in the comment section. Share this with your friends and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.